Hey Mariam, how are you?
Doing fine. How are you?
Good. Before we start this interview, I just want to say congratulations for last month. You got the MHRS certification, which is Mental Health Rehabilitation Specialist. And I want to ask you an important question. Um, During the shelter in place, some folks are dealing with anxiety and some are dealing with depression. Um, I want to know, how do we cope with this social isolation?
Well, yes, thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, I think this social isolation is a new experience for a lot of people, unless you're an introvert and it's business as usual in some sense. But yeah, I think it is provoking anxiety and depressive symptoms. It's a forced isolative behavior for people. It's making people have to sit with themselves a lot now and to think of their life, their livelihood, and being away from family and friends even. The best way to cope is going to vary from person to person. Some coping skills are more effective than others, and it's very individual, but some of the most helpful ones that are known happen to be journal writing, writing down your thoughts and feelings, and you can even use a scale, 1 through 10 if you want. 1 being, I'm not feeling or I'm feeling well today, to 10 being I'm feeling the worst today, or the most anxious today, and being able to see your progression day to day. Are you feeling more anxious on one day to another, and what is going on in that time that might be provoking that more for you within that day, and you can see your pattern and how to monitor yourself. With more of the other depressive symptoms, isolative behavior and having a low mood and not feeling motivated to get out of bed, or not changing your clothes in the morning, just staying in pajamas all day, it's actually encouraged for you to maintain a routine, some kind of daily structure. That can be planned out for you by writing that down as well, a daily planner. Choose it even by hour to hour. 9 a.m. I wake up, I wash myself, change my clothes, I'll go for a walk, maybe in the neighborhood. I think right now in a lot of areas that's still okay. Some areas they might be giving out tickets, I'm not sure. But it's nice to get outside for a little bit. And if you are working from home right now, that gives a little structure. But the best thing you can do is, to explore even the little things you took for granted, making artwork, listening to music, making music, trying a new hobby, or coming back to a hobby that you used to practice. Talk to your friends and family over the phone. There's a lot of video chats nowadays, which is something you can resort to in this time. But yeah.
Yes, during the isolation also, I went through my phone book. I mean, not my phone book, on my phone. I was thinking about all my friends who live by themselves, who have the bachelor lifestyle or who lives in the studio. And I went through all of them, called them, and to see how they're doing and stuff. Or it could be cousin, relatives, uncle, whoever lives by themselves, besides your friend. Just to check up on them. Even they say they're okay, keep checking and stuff.
Yeah, I do recommend that. It's always good to reach out to people, and this is a great time to do that because you want to know how people are doing. I think people aren't always expressing what is going on internally, and maybe to initiate that conversation might open a lot of doors. It might rekindle a relationship that you used to have that you should be working on, and it could nourish and improve your life by having those people around.
Also, we mentioned anxiety. Sometimes I don't think anxiety is always bad, because before this happened, like before I swim or before I exercise or have like a physical test or something, I get anxiety, and it actually helps me with my cardio to go long distance on swimming. Let's say you're racing or you're getting time for evaluation or whatever, or jogging and stuff. It actually helps anxiety. But then anxiety trapped at home and stuff. Now that's kind of hard because there's no cardio machine. You can't go to the gym and stuff and all that. What are some things we could do to cope with anxiety when you're trapped at home? Because there's no cardio machines or nothing.
Yeah, I think anxiety is a natural phenomena, fight or flight, and adrenaline, goes through your blood, and makes you, have endurance to run, if you want to say, or to do jogging or those exercises that you're talking about. It takes a very clever mind to find ways to exercise at home. There are, it's kind of silly to imagine really just jogging in one place or all that, but dancing, really fast paced, even a choreographed dance could help. Also, there's a lot of online videos on YouTube and, whatnot of, at home yoga, Pilates, Tai Bo, CrossFit. Those are all things that you might be able to do at home if maybe you have a couple dumbbells, if you're into that. But also, use that energy or that anxiety, let it be focused into maybe a craft that you have skill and talent in, and that might motivate you to sit there and actually work on those things. It does take a lot of mental and physical energy to invest into those types of things sometimes. So it's a blessing to have anxiety in some sense, and you can direct it in a positive direction.
And deep breathing yoga too, or deep breathing meditation.
Yeah, deep breathing exercises, meditation, grounding techniques, all to become one with yourself and, have a moment of peace that a lot of us are not used to, especially in such a busy world when we are working continuously and, always on the road, if you want to say.
A couple of days ago, my friend Marty, she posted on her Facebook that masturbation releases stress. Is that true?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Or something. I thought it was funny and it's cool. I like that. I was like, wow, I wonder if that's true. So I was going to send it to David. I've copied the link and sent it to Vegan David and said, here you go. Okay. Also, another thing is friends who are dealing with this kind of stuff online. And there's so many crazy stories. At first, I also told Kevin too, like when I wasn't working anymore, I really loved it. I was like relaxed. It was all peaceful. I wasn't looking at time. And I didn't even care what day it was. So I lost track of days. Then everybody starts sending me all these crazy videos of like conspiracy videos, which I am not going to go through. Like 7, 8 different stories. I was like, oh my God, it's so insane. It just scared the hell out of me. So now, due to all these conspiracy videos my friends been sending me, I've been having a hard time sleeping, and my sleeping pattern is all messed up. I would sleep, wake up, sleep. I hear a little sound, then I would think the government is spraying something outside, or like it's a little Illuminati and everything. I've been thinking so much crazy. Do you think time like this, is it best to not go too much online or not to watch these videos, or what?
It's hard to say. I think, again, it's individual basis. A lot of people have had experiences similar to this, and it does provoke, if you want to say, post-traumatic stress symptoms, because people do come from countries and places that have had war, have had famine, who they've been around people when they are starving, who don't have medications. Even a personal story, my family being Palestinian, they were refugeed. They had to leave most of everything behind them, and they found their way. They went into Lebanon, and they were very poor for a time and had to survive that. That resiliency and those cultural strengths. That I think it depends on your upbringing. When your family does tell you, hey, always have some rice, always have some flour, some oil, some of these essentials, because you never know what's going to happen, because they've had experience like this. Being online a lot, there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of negative information, there's a lot of truth and falsity, and it's always hard to piece out what is true, what is not. But if you feel like it's negatively impacting you and it's not going to benefit you to know, then I would say let it go for now. If you feel like you can handle that information and it's going to help you grow and do better for yourself and your community, then yeah, keep going forward and learning more and more. But it's hard to say what is truth and what is not, especially when it comes to online resources. And yeah, there are theories where, the Illuminati, Masons, and all these, networks where governments all work together, and this is all planned and staged, and there's an agenda behind it. I think there's a high chance and possibility. I don't doubt those things. There's a lot of patterns and things that we've seen in our history that suggest that, and probably will see in the future. What can we do? We have to just take care of ourselves. We have to dedicate ourselves to goodness and trying to always seek out the truth.
Or this could be all from animal exploitation.
Well, there's that theory too.
All different viruses and stuff and all that.
There's that theory too where, yes, animal agriculture and us encroaching into, territories and lands that haven't been approached by humans before, and exploiting those areas for animal agriculture, for grazing lands, is exposing people to viruses and bacterias and animals that we haven't been in such close contact with before. And disease, from mammal to mammal, if you want to say that can happen. And that may be just as simple as what's happened now with the coronavirus.
Oh, you know what I have to say? I respect you a lot. You got all prepared, because after that small earthquake, and you bought loads of paper towels and toilet paper and water for natural disaster, first aid kit, dry food, because of the small. So due to that small earthquake, you just packed everything. So like all the grocery store, everything's going crazy. This is perhaps everyone could learn from to get ready for a natural disaster like this.
Absolutely. I even think like things I had bought after an earthquake, I always try to keep things consistently in my home, to prepare for any type of disaster, any type of event. And that also does come from my upbringing as being Palestinian, and knowing that, yeah, that does happen. War happens, famine happens. To be aware that it's always best to be prepared. Do I have a stockpile of weapons? Do I have a fort? Do I have, hundreds of gallons of water? No, I don't have, all those preparations. It is expensive, and, it's not easy when you are busy working on a daily basis, to dedicate your life and your time to, a survival mode. But I think some minimal, at least, preparations are always smart to have consistently throughout your lifetime. And you should encourage others and support others. If your neighbor is hungry, they are your responsibility. Your community is your responsibility. That's a duty. So, help yourself and be able to help others. That's the best position to be in. So that's a goal. Yeah.
You do have a couple weapons that I'm not going to get into. I'm just kidding.
Well, I do have a bow and arrows, but yes. Archery or those skills, it's not necessarily for hunting. It could just be target practice, hand-eye coordination. I love those types of skills. I think they are blessed skills to have, being able to swim, riding a horse, being able to hunt, and all those things. It's not necessarily because you need to do those things or should be necessarily, but to know how and to be ready for something. Why not?
Okay. Another question I had, another question I had is, a lot of us are not working. I'm not working either. I would like to know why you are working.
Yeah, I'm an essential worker. I work at a program. I'm an assistant director, someone in management, but we have...
What's essential worker?
It's basically people who, it's an essential service you're providing. It's medical.
Working with the hospital.
Yeah, working with the hospital. My program takes in people who've come from the psychiatric emergency services, and they've experienced a recent mental health crisis. That's the thing. Medical and mental and everything else doesn't stop in the midst of a pandemic or a crisis. These things are still happening, and I think it's provoking a lot of mental health symptoms coming up for people. It's very difficult, and being out in the community and a lot of these places, community services being shut down right now, and they're limiting public access to a lot of things. People are finding themselves desperate and impacted by it negatively. So yes, I do go to work daily right now. We do have a lot of staff who are still dedicated, but
and you
a lot
also
of
work
stuff is
at home
called
too.
out. Yes, I have work from home.
I do have an important question. This one's the most important one. What about people who haven't saved money or they're not getting unemployment check and they have problem with rent,
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean,
financial problem and stuff?
it's hard to say. Historically, during the 1930s, the Dust Bowl, for example, United States, of course, many other times that our economy has collapsed or the economy has had issues, people have been unemployed. Yeah, people have resorted to committing suicide. People have resorted to just becoming homeless because they've lost everything. It's very serious and it's intimidating. But that's the thing. Your community, working with other people, even doing a rent strike if you have to, being diligent and using your resources wisely. Do research, find out what's out there. There's assistance, there's aid, available. I'm not really expertise on what's available necessarily, but I do
You
know.
could Google search it, I think. There's
Yeah.
toll-free numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is do what you can. Do whatever you got to do to survive. So even you have to beg your relatives, family, or your friends for money, do it. Just to,
Well, I would
do
say
what you've got to do to survive.
never
If
beg.
that's the last resort.
It has to be a last resort, yeah.
Yes.
Because there's, I think to resort
I don't
to
want to see
begging
people in the
it is a
street.
last
That's
resort.
right.
Yeah, that's the thing. If we lived in a society, in a community that had an obligation to where people have an obligation to each other, financially and socially, then we wouldn't have homeless people. We wouldn't have these financial struggles. Everyone would be able to maintain each other, and it's a balance.
Oh, just to go rewind a little bit, we're talking about weapons and stuff. Okay, let's say somebody has gun and stuff like that. The only issue I have with guns is certain people who go through depression, everything. I don't trust them with guns. Because there's a study case, people who are depressed a lot, they end up killing themselves or think about that kind of situation and all that. That's why you got to be careful with weapons. People have that multiple personality and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of people having the right to arm themselves and like who should have a gun, how many guns, how much ammo, all
Or
those
even
things.
the kids, if they have kids around, and hell, that's very dangerous and stuff too.
There's pros and cons. But to say someone who's had depression should never have the right to own a gun, it's hard to say. I don't really feel I'm in a position to, say what I yes or no. I mean, yeah, I think sometimes people can be impulsive, and when they are going through so much emotion, they might choose, a decision that might be fatal, and a gun can be very fatal very quickly. So, yes, I think if you're not stable at the time, you probably should avoid that, because that is a means for a lethal means. And if you're just having an episode where you are feeling depressed momentarily, to have such a means would be that's it, and that's not good.
Cool. Before we go, what are some things people could do to make themselves happy when they're isolated, besides being busy?
I guess having happiness. What is happiness?
Besides keeping themselves busy.
Yeah, I think
Or
no one should have a goal of always being happy. That's unrealistic. And when people actually even say by research
or better
statistically,
mood.
yeah, but when people are always seeking to be happy, if that's their goal in life, they actually end up being less happy. And because when you're always seeking happiness, when you encounter something that's not going to make you happy, it hurts and it impacts a lot more
But
harshly.
What about in a situation like this, if you watch like comedy movies that make you laugh a lot, or you play joke with your friends and stuff, calling stuff, won't that cheer you up?
That's I think that does help. But for me, happiness is actually achieving internal peace, and truth. For me, my religious inclinations, I have a lot of comfort, and I feel very satisfied with my religious direction, and that brings me a lot of happiness and acceptance. Every hardship, every challenge is a test, and they're meant to happen, and to persevere with patience is what's asked of you. And I feel no matter what kind of calamity or difficulty, that my perspective on it keeps me more in a healthy mind, in a healthy space, and happiness.
Cool. Thank you very much. I know you had a long day today, and you talked to many of your counseling and everything. Thank you for doing this time.
You're
And
welcome.
you just got off work and everything. You have a nice evening.
You too.